In my past, I've been very harsh on the Kingdom Hearts series, and likely unfairly so. My journey with the series was from playing the first hour of KH1 at a friend's house, then 358 over 2 days, then Kingdom Hearts 2. Frankly, it was a weird path of absolute nonsense plot that I button mashed my way through on easy difficulties and quickly dismissed as a novelty. And with the wait for KH3 being filled with so many midquels that added more details and twists and Soras and Xehanerds, it became very easy to join the crowd making fun of the series and feel justified in not caring for it much. However, as I've grown older, I've seen opinions on these games change, articulate praise being offered while still acknowledging the silliness. What I'd chalked up to childhood nostalgia came out as very genuine reactions, and an appreciation for a gameplay system I'd long since dismissed as brainless. And then I remembered that 1 hour of Kingdom Hearts 1 I'd played as a kid, and all the feelings of wonder and comfort I had from playing it, how I went home that day lamenting my lack of a PS2, and thinking of the adventures I could have with Sora, Donald, and Goofy. So, I recently picked up the story so far, and sought to relive those memories on Destiny Islands, see what enraptured so many others that I'd forgotten. What I received was one of the most wholesome and engrossing beginnings to a game I've experienced. But before we reach the shores of the islands, we're dropped into the Awakening tutorial sequence. Quite literally, in fact, as Sora continues falling from the end of a surreal AMV right into gameplay. This, combined with the music and the stained glass panes of Disney princesses that you walk upon, gives the area this ethereal, almost holy vibe. Combined with the mysterious narration, this gives a very basic, forced tutorial a really curious tone. Stuff like telling you how to attack and jump would seem obtrusive in another game if it shoved it into your face. But here, it's mixed with the changing scenery of the princess murals, enemy encounters that actually deal damage to you, and most interestingly, choices. The player is offered a shield, a sword, and a magic rod, told to take whatever power appeals to them. After selecting one, the player is asked to give up another. These ultimately end up changing Sora's growth rates and the levels at which he learns certain moves, allowing for a significant degree of customizability upon replays. However, it's presented as a magical choice, none of that information being conveyed, simply if the player wants to wield the wondrous power of creation and ruin, endless bravery in exchange for destruction, or the power to protect their friends. This is further complemented by the personality quiz. The player asks 3 questions by the 2 biggest losers in Final Fantasy X and Selphie in child forms. These questions of value, fear, and desire ultimately lead to when the player's journey begins. This determines their overall XP curve, with Dawn accelerating early level ups but slowing endgame grinding to a crawl, Midway being balanced, and Night creating a slow grind at the start, but getting faster access to endgame spells and skills. Again, none of this information is conveyed directly to the player, just an impression of how their journey will go, a mystery lingering if their actions and decisions were the right ones, and truly best for them. This questioning continues up to Belle's platform, where a massive shadow beast, Darkside, awaits the player. Darkside towers over Sora, a far cry from the cute little shadows that the player had been beating up in the tutorial, and hits significantly harder than them to boot. But the game tells you to not be afraid, and you plunge into the fight. Darkside's attacks are all very slow and telegraphed, and he even spawns little Heartless for Sora to pick off and heal up from. But the player hasn't yet been taught parrying or any defensive skills, so his homing orb attack could still do a number on him. But the best part is, you do not have to win this fight. Darkside would be an unfair roadblock for a player just learning the game, but putting him here shows the player how powerless or powerful they are at that moment, and how much they can grow by the end of their time on the islands. Win or lose, the darkness consumes Sora, and he finally awakens in his home, Destiny Islands. Here your goal is pretty simple. You've got 2 screens that you can wander around, one only containing a save point. Your friend Kairi wants to build a raft with you so that you two and your boyfriend Riku can sail away to new worlds. Already the game is building on a child's fantasy. Friends on a desert island, tree houses built haphazardly out of parts of old ships, running around with a little wooden pirate sword. Everything is magical in a way that only a child's imagination could make. This is complemented by the tutorial fights against Selphie, Waka, and Tidus. Each of these fights is completely optional, but helps the player learn about Kingdom Hearts' deeper mechanics. Waka is an excellent teacher on parrying projectiles and how not to do an accent. Selphie's jump rope whip teaches the player to keep their distance, and Tidus's tells are just slow enough to give the player good physical parrying practice without becoming patronizing. Then you could put it to the test by taking on all 3 at once with your base moveset, which is quite the struggle for me at least. Learning how to prioritize targets, how to draw them out, learning the range of certain attacks so Waka will stop beating you with blitz balls. This 3-on-1 encounter teaches the player everything on how to handle their environment. Of course, none of this matters in the long run. You only get some XP and a potion for winning, and there's no consequence for losing this fight over and over and over again. But Tidus said that Riku beat them 3-on-1, so you gotta be better than your rival, right? Speaking of Riku, he's also available as a fight. Every bit as tough as Tidus would lead you to believe. He perfectly parries anything from the front, leaps all over the place far quicker than you can, and has this leaping drop kick from his back that'll flatten you if you overextend with a combo. Your limited toolset matched against his makes for a fairly difficult fight. A good test of reflexes until you learn his pattern. And your reward? Just another potion. But Sora will keep track of how many wins and losses he has against Riku, always keeping score. This score is completely inconsequential, but why wouldn't you want to try and beat it? Surely you'll get close enough that you'll win next time, and with that potion, you could definitely keep on winning and even up the score from the times you struggled to beat him, right? It's the most childish thing, and it won't affect every player, but it ties into the child's fantasy so well, winning play fights just for bragging rights and the sake of getting better. This is complemented by the Riku fight being available until you talk to Kairi, letting you keep playing until you want to advance the story and, by extent, Sora's relationship with her. Then Donald Duck shows up. Neat! Sora's next day starts with the door Kairi was in front of being accessible, leading to a whole new part of the island. There's also the secret area behind this wooden door, but that's not really important right now. Not when arch-rival Riku is right there. He challenges you to a race, with the winner being able to share a Palpo fruit with Kairi, and being able to name the raft you've been working on. The fruit, mind you, has been established to bond people for eternity after sharing it, so you have one chance to forever defend your childhood crush, and more importantly, name a boat. This of course has no real consequence, Riku saying he was just kidding about the fruit thing after you race, but the stakes mean something to a kid, and it's something that you don't get a second chance at. You can beat Riku in as many rematches as you want, but if you lose that first race, the raft's gonna be named the High Wind no matter what. Also, it adds to Sora's ongoing tally of wins and losses with Riku, with each win netting you a pretty stone to sell for pocket change later, while also teaching the player about Sora's momentum and platforming abilities in a risk-free environment. And all of this, the racing, the fighting, the little fetch quests you do, allows you to bond with the kids on this island, and the islands themselves. All at once, this is a safe little playground, a nostalgic return to childhood, and a tutorial wrapped all into one. Kairi even mentions this, saying that no matter where you all go on your raft, you'll always have this home to return to. The Destiny Islands are special in a way that not a lot of games or starting areas capture. They make a tutorial comfortable. They make a tutorial feel like home. This, of course, makes it all the more heartbreaking when everything comes crashing down. Sora meets a weird man in a cave that talks about doors and keys and junk he couldn't care less about. Donald reads a letter from Mickey that stars are going out in the sky, Jiminy Cricket shows up and says that his world was destroyed by darkness, and then oops, all Heartless crawling around Destiny Islands. Sora is absolutely powerless to hit these things, your tutorial enemies proving absolutely invincible. You meet up with Riku, watch him get swallowed by the darkness as Sora desperately tries to reach his friend, and then you pull out the series' emblematic Keyblade. Finally, you can fight back against the darkness. You try and find Kairi, but it's too late, her body dissipating through Sora before the Destiny Islands are torn asunder, and Sora comes face to face with another Darkside. But this time, you're ready. This is the first real boss fight the player can actually die to, but with the training from your friends, Darkside's various tells can be seen coming from a mile away. What was once so intimidating has become, if not trivial, then at least far easier than keeping up with Riku or your friends. You slay the beast and your world is devoured by the darkness. That safe home Kairi wanted to return to is gone. Your home is gone. All that remains is sailing out to the worlds ahead. And I think that's the crux of what makes Destiny Islands such a memorable starting level and Kingdom Hearts as a whole such a memorable journey. Other games have done better and less obtrusive tutorials, but none fit into the thematic identity of their games as well as Kingdom Hearts' does. You're just a bunch of kids looking to set out on a journey beyond what you know, preparing for what dangers lie ahead in the only ways you know how, through play and competition. It's an incredibly innocent wish, one that the player feels as they play along with these kids and progress forward. The rest of Kingdom Hearts, consequently, is that journey that these kids wished for, seeing new worlds and encountering new things, all with wondrous differences and harsh realities that come with them. And I think that is the enduring appeal of Kingdom Hearts, the desire to see all new worlds and people and ideas, with the ultimate goal of just returning home and, after all they've gone through, seeing these kids happy again. It may weave in a bunch of different directions and involve hearts on hearts and putting X's and zippers on a bunch of clothes.
And Atlantica.
But ultimately, I think that framing as a fairy tale, that desire to get home, shines through as a guiding light. It's something I've never really understood, but always felt since I was a kid, and I'm so glad to be proven wrong now. In theme, story, and gameplay, Kingdom Hearts absolutely knows how to design for beginnings.